My Life and Ethiopia's Progress, Chapter 36, Our Organization of the Southern Army. We organized our Southern Army in three parts: right, left, and center wings. We made the Jazmach Nasibu the representative of the Duke of Harar, commander in chief of the right wing of the Southern Army. We attached to him as aides the Jazmach Habte Mikael and the Jazmach Ambe, the Jazmach Abebe Damtu, and the Jazmach Makunen and Dal Kachu. There was also a Turkish national called General Waheb Pasha. Since he knew about Italy's war of aggression against Ethiopia, he had come to help of his own free will and without any request on our part. We gave to him the Jazmach Nasibu as advisor in any military matters. With regard to medical work, Doctor Hockman, who had been working in the American Mission Hospital established at Addis Ababa in the name of Tafari Makunen, had given notice through the Ethiopian Red Cross Society of his wish to go down to Dagobur to tend to the wounded. For the time being, he went on his own, but later on a Red Cross Society had been set up at Cairo, Egypt's capital, for the assistance of the Ethiopian people, and Prince Ismail Daud, a member of the royal house, had been sent by the society together with upwards of 20 doctors and auxiliaries. He had arrived with a complete ambulance, and it was arranged that he should assist the right wing of the Southern Army with medical work. We appointed Ras Desta commander-in-chief of the left wing of the Southern Army. As support for him, we nominated the Jazmach Kebre Mariam and the Jazmach Makunen Wasani, the Jazmach Debe Welda Emmanuel, and Fitarari Tedesse Ganame. For the medical work, Dr. Hogman had been sent down by the Sudan missionary, but when he was to inspect the condition of a bomb and dismantle the screws, it exploded again and hit him. In consequence, he died immediately, and we had him brought by airplane to Addis Ababa where he was buried. The valiant Grasmach Afawok, the army officer, whom we had stationed at Gorahi, had prepared trenches and had done well digging the ground to make it suitable as firing positions and for defense against bombs from aeroplanes. Hence, when Italian soldiers came there on two occasions, he sent them back defeated both times. And after the Italians had become convinced that they were unable to engage in an infantry battle, having closed in face to face with Grasmach Afawok at Garahe, they began unleashing a rain of bombs on the place, returning repeatedly by plane. On one occasion, they dropped 300 bombs there, but they did not cause much damage, apart from killing 5 men and wounding 15 who had not observed the instructions to be cautious. On Tekempt 23rd, which is the November 3rd in the Gregorian calendar, 20 airplanes returned and dropped bombs. And while the brave Grasmach Afawok was firing with the Oerlikon and taking aim to bring down a plane, a bomb splinter that had fallen by his side hit his leg and wounded him. As his bravery after being wounded inspired him further, he endured the pain of the wound and carried on his work. But after he had waited a little, he became aware that his strength was flagging and that he was unable to fire. He therefore requested to be carried off, and they took him to a place where he could rest. It was only at Dagobur, at a distance of some 220 kilometers, that the nearest doctor's was, and he was concerned that his soldiers might disperse if he were to go there. As he lay there, he notified the commander-in-chief, the Jazmach Nasibu, by radio telegram as follows. I am severely wounded and may perhaps die. Therefore, please send an army officer quickly to Garahe to replace me. The Jazmash Nasibu dispatched Fitarari Gwangul Kolase as commander to Garahe. As they took Gazmach Afawok Walda Semayet to Dagabur for medical treatment, he died on the journey and they buried him with honor in the church of St. George at Dagabur. At this time, a physician of the Sudan Interior Mission had offered his help as a volunteer and went to Sidamo. But later on, the Swedish Red Cross Society had appointed Dr. Highlander and sent doctors and auxiliaries together with a fully equipped ambulance. It was arranged that they should go to the left wing of the Southern Army. To the center wing of the Southern Army, we appointed the Jazmach Bayene Mared as commander-in-chief and attached him to support Bajaran Fikra Selassie Kitama. Fitarari Atnaf Seged Walde Georgis, Kegnazmach Asifal Walde Georgis, as well as Kegnazmach Selaba and Kegnazmach Andom, who had joined us, having deserted the Italians, because they refused to fight our country together with the enemy. For medical work, however, no doctor could be found for the time being, so those Ethiopians went who had some knowledge of bandaging wounds only. Later on, it was arranged that some of the Swedish doctors who had gone to Rasdesta should be detached and proceed to the Jajmach Bayana Mered. Apart from this, before the beginning of the war, very few soldiers held all the small towns which were in the district of the right southern front, such as Dagabur, Bulale, Sasebani, Dega, Hamado, Burkut, Karahe, Haradaget, Kebredari, Fafen, Cheko, Webe Shelibi, Webe Shebeli, Berdade, Tafarai, Kitama, as well as similar places on the left southern and central southern fronts. We gave orders to all the army officers who were on guard duty to stay in the position to which they had been assigned. If Italians attacked them, they were to resist as far as possible. But if their aggression against them became too fierce, they were to fall back. But the Italians began to fly over in their planes and to unleash a rain of bombs upon all the little towns enumerated here above. But as the soil of the Ogaden province is dusty and sandy, most of the bombs were found buried in the sand and exploded. Thus, on one occasion, a bomb that had fallen near Dagobah was found unexploded. The Italian again brought along airplanes in waves of 20 each time, on the 24th and 25th of Tekempt, which is the 24th and 5th of November 1935 in the Gregorian calendar, and totally obliterated Garahe with the bombs they dropped. They killed the Somalis and their animals who had come to the Garahe region to water their herds and then entered Garahe. Fitarari Gwangu Kolase, who was Grasmash Afawok's replacement, had not heard of the Italians' entry into Garahe. Thus he marched on with some 500 soldiers and reached a place called Haile to the east of Sasabani. When he heard gunfire, he ordered his men to scatter quickly and widely amidst the bushes, crevices, and grass. Having waited a little, they saw Italian soldiers arriving in lorries, followed by quite a number of tanks. They lay silently until the Italians had gone forward. Later on, however, those in the tanks alighted from their vehicles to look at an engine that had broken down, and the men in the lorries got out as well. Gwangul's soldiers who were watching right and left, forward and rear, and when he gave them a sign, they fired a volley and wiped out the lot. In this astonishing battle, only a few of Gwangul's soldiers were killed, but Gwangul himself was injured, and as his men remained there, Being unable to push forward, he informed the Jazmash Nasibu of his victory. When the Jazmash Nasibu heard of their brave actions, he sent 2 lorries and arranged for the wounded to be taken to Dagobah for medical attention. In this victory, they were captured, in addition to some damaged machine guns, 4 most excellent machine guns, as well as many rifles and bullets, and they were taken to Dagobah. After we had heard about the death of Grasmach Afewok and the occupation by the Italians of Garahe, news also reached us that the Italians on the northern front were pushing on from Adwa towards Makale, and that the governor of Makale, the Judgmach Haile Selassie Gugsa, had betrayed his mother country Ethiopia and us, his emperor, and had gone over to the Italians. In consequence, we made Desi our headquarters, since we intended to wait while finding out about the position of the armies on the northern and southern front before proceeding to Desi. We went down by plane to Jijiga on the 9th of Hidar, which is the 19th of November 1935 in the Gregorian calendar. The next day, we conferred the rank of the Jazmach upon Grasmach Afewok, who had given his life with such valor for his country's independence and for the honor of his emperor. This was intended to be a memorial for future generations and for history. Subsequently, we bestowed the rank of officer upon several men. On the third day, we assembled the army officers in full and gave them words of advice as how to guard against bombs from aeroplanes and other dangers. We then arranged for the following written advice to be distributed. Since the Italian government has for 40 years now set out to destroy Ethiopia's freedom by aggression, you heroes who are alive now and who were present at that time, and those of you who were not at Adwa, but whose fathers had been there, they have shown their heroism by shedding their blood, and they have saved their country's freedom and their patrimony from the hands of the enemy. Now the Italian government is preaching to its people to avenge that battle, which it lost 40 years ago, claiming that in Ethiopia the army was a spent force and that, therefore, they would fight us without difficulty. The Italian government has begun the war to make you who did not die share the fate of those who did, to destroy your freedom by abasing the well-known bravery of Ethiopia's sons, which is recorded in world history, to invade your patrimony and your houses, to acquire as slaves your old parents, to make exiles of your sons, and to reckon Ethiopia's heroes as if they did not exist, and to attack with its armies in the north and in the south. All the governments of the world, being aware of Italy's violent onslaught upon Ethiopia, are our supporters. While Italy believes that Ethiopia's heroes have ceased to exist and perish, and persist in discounting those who do, the important thing is that it is your duty to revive your valor by defeating the hostile attack launched against your generation and against Ethiopia, and by victoriously driving out from our land our enemies who have taken it by violence. Man has not been created to be everlasting. His death, his end is death, which severs him from this world. This death may come early or late, but for all mankind it is inescapable. It is man's name alone that remains as a memorial until the world, which appears to hover beyond the grave, passes altogether. When this our enemy fought us at Adwa 40 years ago, Ethiopia's brave men beat him victoriously. Hence their names will remain unforgotten, mentioned forever, not only yours who are alive, but even theirs who were lost there. It is the main source of pride for the present generation. Again, even for a young man, as the enemy attacks him, robbing him of his country and his patrimony and carrying his family into exile, it is a death that comes upon him in battle, which is indeed his greatest wish and source of pride. Even the hen will struggle to save her chicks from the vulture. This being so, do recognize that it is proper for a man to fight with the enemy. However, many thousands of times the latter may surpass him in knowledge and strength. Since death is thus in the end ineluctable for mankind, how great will be your honor if you lose your life fighting the invading enemy to establish an inextinguishable reputation, to prevent aged parents, wives, and children being exiled, and while today they live in dignity and in their free country of Ethiopia, if that liberty were to be destroyed, to prevent them sinking into humiliation and this their dignity being lost. Your glorious day will endure, being praised by your children and your families and being recalled by world history. We have been aware for some time of our enemy's intention to carry through this plan of aggression, and we, your emperor, ruling you in times of peace, have told you of our resolve to shed our blood being amidst you in the time of war. Thus we are now with you. Since you know about the multitude of different instruments of war the Italians have been accumulating, they cannot cause you much injury. The thing which is called aeroplane is intended to cause shock by the noise of the bombs it drops and to weaken the heart, but other useful things it does not do. While present day modes of warfare may not cause you much damage, it is necessary to follow the advice we have given you through your respective officers, so as to enable you to attack your enemy. In order to defend your country's independence, we shall not deprive you of our support to lighten your burdens in terms of money and provisions in all your difficulties, which you may encounter in this place at which you are stationed. And now, lest any kind of trouble should befall the kinsmen and families of the heroes who have laid down their lives while carrying out their duties for the honor of their country and their families, we shall protect them as emperor and father. We have therefore instructed our military representatives that the names should come before us in writing through their respective commanding officers. We are forever with you until our life expires. 10th of Hidar 1928, which is the 20th of November 1935. As regards the deployment of the army, if they went down to the central Ogaden, the countryside, there would be one of severe desert conditions without sufficient water and food for the army or grass and fodder for the animals. We therefore gave orders that they should remain reconnoitering in the area from Jijiga to Dagabur, and that if the Italian army crosses the desert and made an approach towards them, they should then open hostilities. They should further let us know about everything that occurred at any time by sending messages to wherever our headquarters will be. Subsequently, we set out by automobile from Jijiga to Harar. At Harar, we arranged a lunch party for our retinue and then went down to Dayadawa. On the morrow, the 11th of Hidar, which is the 21st of November 1935, we returned to Addis Ababa by air.